So as we lead into this week, 10 years of the Note. The phone that not only changed it all for the way we view phone sizes, but the way we view premium smartphones and innovation. This phone brought to the table every year something that really pushed the envelope when it came to technology. Being the trendsetter, the icon, the pen, the Note.
It is my pleasure to introduce the Galaxy Note 10.
And like Unpack events before it, we saw it all start with the CEO of Samsung Electronics, DJ Cole, showing off the Note 10. And then open it up for the speakers to contribute their part in discussing the hardware, software, and other devices they're trying to share on the coattail of this big event. And that's basically what we're going to do right now. We're going to break down some of the devices that was unveiled at the event, the specs, and kind of my thoughts on each one of these devices. And let's go ahead and start with, well, the device that everybody was anticipating, the superstar, the Note 10. So this is the first time we saw the Note 10 broken down into two phones. The Note 10, which would basically be a cheaper version of the Note, and the Note 10 Plus. Now, critics have been complaining about the Note 10 because they feel like it's a watered-down version of what the Note used to be. And really, some have been dubbing it the Note 10R. So I will kind of jump on my views on that in a second, but let's go ahead and run down the spec sheet real quick. For the Note 10, you're looking on the Snapdragon 855 processor, 256 gigabytes of internal storage, 35 milliamp hour battery with 3 cameras, wide, ultra wide, and telephoto. And it will start at $950, coming in white, black, blue, and Aura Glow. So basically, what Aura Glow is, which you guys are going to see when you go online and look at the Note 10, when you change the angle of it, depending on how the light reflects on it, the phone almost changes a different color. It's actually a cool look. As far as screen size, it will come in 6.3-inch 1080p display, something that people have been very critical of Samsung for. Now let's go to the Note 10 Plus, which will have a 6.8-inch 1040 display, 12 gigabytes of RAM. The same Snapdragon 855 processor will have two options, a 256 gigabyte option and a 512 gigabyte option of internal storage with 1 terabyte of external, 4300 milliamp hour battery, 4 cameras, one being wide, the ultra wide, telephoto, and depth vision. It will come in the same colors as the Note 10, white, black, blue, and Aura Glow, or the rainbow color. And we'll start at $1,100 for the 256 gigabyte models and $1,200 or $1,200 for the 512 gigabyte model. Now, if you want to get it in 5G, it will only be available through Verizon in the United States exclusively for an extra $200 for the 256 gigabyte model and the 512 gigabyte model. Basically, coming to $1,300 for the 256 gigabyte 10 Plus 5G and $1,400 for the 512 gigabyte 10 Plus 5G model. Now, to the people that's criticizing Samsung for coming out with the watered down version of the Note, it's a good criticism, but I kind of see what Samsung was looking at. So with last year when Apple released the iPhone XR and the 10 Plus and 10 Plus Max, even though they were met with critics saying that, okay, look, you guys should not be buying this XR because when you look at the display, the resolution is not really on par with a lot of the mid-tier phones out there. There are mid-tier Android phones that have better screen resolutions than your iPhone XR right now. This is pretty much Apple ripping you off. Despite that, people went out and bought that phone. In fact, it sold more phones than the big brother, the 10 Plus. And another example of why or what is kind of shaping Samsung's decision here, and when you look at the spring, Google released the Pixel 3a and 3a XL. And even people who are diehard Google fans are saying, you know what? This is a better buy than the current Pixel 3 and 3 XL. Because you're saving money, you're still getting the same great camera, and the display, well, for the most part, it does what it needs to do. So I'm not surprised that Samsung decided to do this because they saw kind of the trends with Apple and Google and seeing, hey, particularly Google, the Pixel 3a XL and 3a actually did so well in sales that it actually boosted the sales of the Pixel 3, helping it go from pretty much a big loss to start seeing the gain to where I would not be surprised if the A models become the new focus for Google because they are making money on that one. Whereas with the 3X or the 3 and the 3XL, well, fans look at this like, yo, you're not putting out the specs like you should to be on par with the flagships out there. Yo, I'm not feeling this. And it's clear, I've said before, that Google don't seem like they want to get in the battle of having this flagship war or this spec war. And being that they don't have the heart for that, I will not be surprised if we start seeing them focus more on that. But back to Samsung. Despite the critics saying to them that, look, you're basically taking your budget phone and you're turning it into what you consider the normal phone, the standard phone, the standard option for people to buy. And then you have the premium lineup. You're not doing what you did with the Galaxy S10 Plus, where you had, or the Galaxy S10, where you had the premium model, the standard model, and a budget model. You basically have a budget model and a premium model. But all you did was take the budget model and put the standard pricing on it. And mainly why people are looking at that? Because of the display. How can you water down the Note 10 when the Note line was considered the standard bearer for what was premium, for what was the top end of hardware for Samsung, and not just Samsung, really smartphones in general. People look forward to that phone because they saw it as a trendsetter for devices, really setting the mark for where smartphones need to get to. And now here you go introducing a phone that, well, for all intents and purposes, it's not doing that. It's really kind of bringing down the measurements and dropping it down to kind of fit, well, your way of selling a phone at a price that you feel will get people to buy. And even with all those critics saying that, at the end of the day, people, I think, are going to buy it because, look, as much as we may want to be critics of what Samsung is doing, as phones continue to get more expensive, nerds may care about the specs, but the consumers care about the price tags. And at the end of the day, when your consumer go to Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and they see that phone next to each other in the display, as far as they're concerned, looks pretty decent. They're not having problems really seeing it. It looks gorgeous as far as they're concerned. They're not really caring about the numbers on there. Half these people can care less about it being more than 1080p. They're not really caring about their phone having, quote, 8K or 4K displays, even though we're not there yet. They're okay with the 1080p's. For the most part, most people, especially now when you look at where we at with our carriers, you're not able to enjoy the full resolution of your display anyway, especially if you're streaming. Because a lot of your companies like Verizon, AT&T, and even T-Mobile is capping where you're able to stream your data or stream your videos at anyway. So with that being the case, unless you're at home on Wi-Fi, you're not always going to be able to take full advantage of that, unless they change that when 5G come out. And being that this is not a 5G phone, I can see where really, if you're a customer and you're trying to save money, why not go to the low resolution model? And at the end of the day, that's why that line, I think, is not only going to be there, but I would not be surprised if it ended up being successful. With the only thing that really going to be a hesitance for them is the simple fact that it still carries that $1,000 price tag. And for Samsung, the best way that they can probably take better advantage of the customers with this is that they can drop that price just a little bit more, throw in some type of incentives to make it be closer to that $900 range. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to be able to do that through the carriers, where the carrier's going to offer some type of option, like throwing a free case or something like that to make the customer feel like they're getting their full money's worth. I won't be surprised to see that the Note 10 end up being a top-selling device for them, and people gravitate to it, feel like that, yeah, I got a phone that's not at that $1,000 price point, and I got a Note. At the end of the day, that's what most people care about. It's your boy PC747. Thank you for checking out this video. This is an excerpt from this week's The Next Up podcast, which you can catch on SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. If you like what you heard, please hit the like button and subscribe below. If not, feel free to leave a comment below on what you didn't like and ways I may improve. Constructive comments are welcome, but don't think the comment section is only for dislikes. Feel free to voice your opinion about the topics below. As always, have a good day. I'm out.